Hey guys, maybe you've been asking yourself, what's been one of the single best investments I've done this year in 2024? You're about to find out, so tune in. Hello, my fellow Ripplers. This is Chris Miles, your cash flow expert and anti-financial advisor. This show is for you, those that work so hard for your money, and you're now ready for your money to start working harder for you today. You want that freedom of cash flow right now, where you work because you want to, not because you have to. Become work optional. And so doing, it's not just about getting rich, it's about living a rich life. Because as you're blessed financially, as you have more resources, you now have a greater capacity to bless the lives of those around you. Thank you for tuning in today, guys. You guys have been so awesome. Hey, as a reminder, I appreciate you guys been binging and sharing. But for those of you who've been binging and sharing, if you haven't done so already, leave us a review. That would be awesome. Heck, put me on pause if you have to, but please leave us a review. Unless you think this show totally sucks, then just go find some other show. Go find the Dave Ramsey show or something like that. But if you like us, go ahead and give us a positive review. Really appreciate that. All right, guys. So I'm bringing on my special friend here, Yvonne. Now, you guys may not know her. I had Brad Chandler on here, I think it was about a year or so ago. But after I had Brad on, I decided to hire them to become my hypnotherapist. And I will tell you, this has become my single best investment in the last year of 2024. So amazing. And so because of that reason, I wanted to share that with you guys as well. Be able to bring Yvonne on here because I'll tell you my story a little bit later, but you'll know why as we get going here. So Yvonne, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
That was probably the shortest intro I've ever given. People are used to me like giving all the accolades. I'm like, no, you just got to hear it. It's awesome.
Yeah, let's dive into it.
Well, give us more of your background because I know you weren't just born and raised as a hypnotherapist. I mean, you got into this eventually, and you had a pretty turbulent life in some ways.
Yeah, I actually walk my talk.
Mhm.
I did it to myself before I started helping people just to make sure it works. So I was born and raised an overachiever, and thou shalt live beneath your means and just go into regular 9 to 5 safe job, make money, put it into a 401k. You're going to cringe. That's what I did. Right.
Well, this is
And
before you found the light. I know, I get
yeah.
it.
Right, but it was always how do I stay safe?
Mm,
Right? Because my parents, I love them and they just wanted the best for me, right?
yeah.
They didn't have a lot. And so they thought they only did what they knew what to do, what they were told to do. This is the safe way to go. Go into the safe, stable job, make money, and put in your retirement, quickly get married, have kids, work your life away for your kids, and then maybe someday you get to retire.
Mhm.
Right? If that
Yeah.
sounds familiar to you, you're not alone. And so I did that. I went to school for finance and I didn't like that. I mean, I was good at it, but I'm like, worked at a bank and somebody had to die or retire to get a promotion and it wasn't going to be me, back then. And also Smith Barney was like cutthroat sales, right? I didn't want to do that either. I was about people. Like when I took my interest inventory quiz back in the day when they had those in high school, I was supposed to be a social worker.
Mhm.
But I thought, oh my God, my passion to help people would die with ramen noodles and college debt. So,
It's the same thing I thought when I was considering social work, and I was like, no, I can't do that.
yeah. So I listened to my well-intentioned parents and I went into that. And then I went into IT and business strategy consulting for 25 years, climbing the ladder, trying to, make the money, get safe, got married, rushed into it because it was already late. Right.
Mhm.
And it wasn't a great marriage. I had 2 kids and I love my children. The marriage became unsafe.
Mhm.
And so I was able to get my ex-husband out of the house. I got a security system, not because I live in a bad neighborhood, but because he could still get in because he had the keys
Right.
and he would pretend, right? And so I was like, when did I show up on an after school special? How did this happen to me? I'm like the all-American girl from a town of 2,300, right? In central
Right.
Illinois, in the middle of cornfields. Cows and corn was across the street in town.
You're intelligent, you're educated, and everything else, and
Yeah,
this
how
still
did that
happened to you.
happen? What in the world did I do?
Hmm.
Right? And I thought, okay, my girlfriend said, come to yoga with me. Right. I'm like, hate yoga. There's no endorphins. Like I was a
Mhm.
spinner and a runner and all the things with the adrenaline. And that's when my mind started to change. Through yoga, I found meditation, through meditation, manifestation, through manifestation, I started believing that I could attract what I wanted, the abundance that I desired into my life. And that's where I attracted Brad into my life. I always tell people I
Mhm.
manifested him. And he was going through this hypnotherapy training. And I thought, that sounds a little woo woo, but
Mhm.
if you can get me to stop drinking wine and binge watching Netflix, that might be useful. So sure, let me be your
Uh-huh.
guinea pig. Right? I wasn't really like going into it, taking it seriously. And I didn't go into a deep trance. I didn't remember anything I hadn't remembered, but I unlocked my subconscious mind. I put two and two together and I realized, oh, why I attracted that man into my life, why I was working my life away in hopes that maybe someday I could live for me.
Mhm.
And it was all based upon this conditioning, right? That was innocently done. Got grounded if I didn't get straight A's and was compared to my friend who was valedictorian and always, top notch and all the things. And so I never really learned who I was or what I wanted to be. I was always trying to be something else for someone else or for safety because I was told the world was unsafe.
Mhm.
Right. So if you are in a situation, you're listening and you're like, how the heck did I get here?
Mhm.
Or you think you're stuck or trapped, whether it's in a bad marriage or in a bad job or in a bad financial situation, it's not your fault. However, at the same time, you can actually take back control of your life story. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. But that's what I did for myself. And that's what I hopefully helped Chris here do a little bit too.
No, I can attest to it for sure. And I can't remember if I've told you this, Yvonne, or not, but I've tried at least two, maybe three. I think it was two other hypnotherapists previous to you. I
Oh.
guess third time was a charm because, and nothing against them. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I get different reactions. I actually just talked to some investor friends about it this weekend. They're like, "Wait, you do hypnotherapy that works?" I'm like, "Man, it if it's with the right person, it works great." Because I
Yeah.
remember the first person I had, he was highly recommended. I mean, one of the top in the state. But when I went to him, I kind of always left feeling a little bit gross. Like he was kind of putting something on me, like almost projecting his own stuff into my subconscious, and that felt scary. The next person, she was good, but I didn't really see that shift for me. Like the same subconscious issues are still there, and that's what I noticed with you. I can't remember if I might have shared this with you or not, but after we got a few sessions in, we actually did the full blown appointment, and I remember just feeling all these emotions rise up and that anger and everything, and just wanting to release and even swung my pendulum like crazy. It was almost like, if someone ever had like a heavy backpack and you're hiking along with a heavy backpack and you take it off and you almost feel like you can float and fly. It felt like
Yeah.
that for me because I didn't
Oh,
realize how many things since my childhood drug me down, and in good ways and bad ways, because some of the drive that I've noticed in life and in business was from things like you were saying, like me trying to please my parents, even though they're more than pleased, right? But it's like I got to do a little bit more, and I got to do more, I got to serve more, and I got to overserve to the point where I exhaust myself and lose myself and things like that, and not realizing that how much of that came from just such a young childhood. It carries with you throughout your life. And just like one of my clients who reached out about you guys recently, he's like, "Hey, I noticed you have a testimonial for them. Tell me about it." And I said, like, "Man, I got to tell you, like, it'll probably be one of the best investments you ever make because
oh,
it not just applies. I mean, one, I mean, for he was having, talking about relationship issues, which I had as well, having to deal with my relationship issues. I mean, a lot of that got carried over, and realizing that it's not about me just picking the wrong partner. It's about me not being me, right? Like not
yeah.
being truly who I am and not showing up that way. And then that creates dissonance, right, in a relationship.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so for him, I was like, you know what, for you, that's probably worth it. And by the way, divorce, just they cost you 50%. I mean, there's no price. I mean, that's probably gonna be more than that in your life, and and not to mention the emotional baggage and everything else that goes with it, and how much it restricts your happiness, and be able to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And it's nobody's fault, right? Guys, we're
Yeah.
taught to like please others, right? The golden rule, do unto others as you to be done unto. And I changed it to the platinum rule. Like
Hmm.
first do unto yourself as you want to be done unto, so that you can do unto others as they want to be done unto,
Yes,
right? We
that's
don't
right.
know what other people want. They don't
Mhm.
know what we want. We make assumptions and we're always wrong. And then we wonder why we can't make each other happy.
Mhm.
So it's never about the relationship with somebody else, whether it's at work or it's at home. It's about the relationship you have with yourself. And like you said, you just didn't connect to yourself yet because we
Yeah,
weren't taught that, right? And it's nobody's fault. Nobody knew. We're evolving, right? As a
right.
humanity. And that's why we changed our name to Limitless You, because I and Brad think everybody is limitless. And it's not a matter of like achieving a milestone, because all the external milestones don't matter really.
Right.
You're going to get to the whatever title, or you're going to get the promotion, or you're going to get the money, or you're going to get the wife, or you're going to get the husband, or you're going to get the kids, or you're going to get the house, the car, the whatever. And then you're like, oh, well, that didn't do it.
Nope.
And most of the time, those things that you're chasing outside of you aren't what you want anyway. They're just what you've been conditioned to believe that you want.
Hmm. It's
So
it's
you,
like people that think like, oh, I just want to have $1 million, right? Well, why? What do you think you're going to get with that? Well, I don't know, and in fact, I just interviewed a guy for this show as well. He had just mentioned this. He said that if you've been following this podcast, you're probably looking for great ways to create passive income right now, right? Well, we got you covered here with Central Lending. Central Lending specializes in alternative investments that actually are designed to create steady returns and long-term financial security for you and your family. Now, they prioritize transparency. They love, building those strong relationships, giving you that confidence and peace of mind, knowing that you have your money working harder for you, so you don't have to work so hard for that money. You want to learn more how to do that? Go to centrallending.com and check out what they've got today to create your passive income and wealth creation right now. Uh, in his life, he like even in some cases bought and sold, but he started 51 businesses, 16 of which became multi-million dollar businesses. And he even admitted, he said, you know what I found out in my 50s? He's like, I finally figured out that I was doing that just so I can impress my father. So that he would even say he'd be proud of me because he was proud of his other son who took over the law practice. He was proud of this son who became a doctor. Well, what does Rich do? Like he was saying like that. And, he said that in the interview. It's like, well, obviously he's successful, but he never could measure up to that image or whatever he thought his dad wanted him to become.
yeah. And so if you're listening and you're like, I still don't know about this hypnotherapy business, think of it as like deep guided meditation. We're like
Mhm.
subconscious safari guides. So you'd
This is not
mentioned
the stage hypnotherapy that you hear about or see.
no.
That's
And it's not
yeah.
even like practical hypnosis. So Brad and I have created like a special blend based on what he's learned and gone through, and then my 25 years of IT strategy, like human development and consulting, right? It's a blend, but we don't give you the answers because the answers are inside your own mind. I tell people I'm like your subconscious safari guide, right?
Mhm.
Like a safari, it's on my bucket list. I haven't been yet, but I want to go to South Africa on a safari. I think that would be amazing with a
I actually
guide.
know a guy, by the way. I just interviewed him
Okay.
for a podcast too. He's from South Africa. Just went to a safari a couple months ago.
Oh,
For
perfect. Send me his contact information. I got to save up for it still
sure.
after. But maybe you can help me with that too. Not in a 401k. Here's the thing. If you didn't have a guide, a safari would be really scary. You might die,
Yeah.
right? And so, Chris, when you were talking about bringing up those emotions, like I've talked to a lot of people, they're like, "Hell no, I don't want those coming up. I don't want to feel those." Even you, at like halfway through, you're like, "Yeah, I was really mad if it didn't change." Like, you
Hmm.
know. So it's a lot, and it isn't a lot. It can be exciting. It can be like freeing, right? So, would you rather have that all buried down in you,
Hmm.
right? Those animals, like basically think of it like a safari. They're all in there. Whether there's a jungle in there. You don't get to say, "Oh, there's no animals in there." They're in there. Everybody has
Hmm.
them. Whether you had a perfect childhood or you think you had a terrible childhood, nobody's childhood was perfect.
That's
You need
right.
two things as a child: attachment, so you don't die, but authenticity. And that's what we're talking about, right? Like you need to know that you're enough just as you are and whatever crazy thing you want to do. You need to be given the wings to explore that, right? So that's all it is. It's like we're taking a subconscious safari, figure out where some scary stories were made up, like why you think you're not enough, how it's been ruling your life. You see what the truth is. You create your own truth, right? I think that's the other
Mhm.
thing that you really enjoyed, right? I'm not going to say I know the answer for Chris. I'm not going to say I know the answer for anybody. What I can do is help them figure out what it is for them.
Right.
So we spend time, right? Like if you haven't done this yet, you can do this on your own too. What really do you want? Like if you go to unlocklimitlessyou.com/resources, there's a bunch of goodies there. There's a quiz where you can figure out like what's going on in my life, like my way of being and way of being with others, right? I highly recommend starting there. Only
Yeah.
takes 5 minutes or less, 12 questions. There's a discover your why. So you've heard like Dean Graziosi and what you were just talking about. He made this 7 levels deep. I don't think he invented it.
Hmm.
Um, but ask yourself why. Why did that guy want $1 million? And then remember we answered it. And then, well, why that? And then we answered it. And then like, this is kind of annoying, but also very interesting at the same time. And you ask
Hmm.
yourself again. And then you get to the bottom of it. He wanted to make his dad proud,
Right.
right? And you can start that on some things on your own, but you can get a lot deeper and have like quantum leaps in embodiment when you leverage a program like ours, because you can only do so much on your own in a certain amount of time, right?
Hmm.
You want to take a quantum leap. You don't want to like spend years. You want to spend like less than months. Like it was less than months, right, Chris?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Versus how many years of like therapy do people normally do? Or should I
Oh,
say lifetimes?
oh, even me. I've hired so many people to help with some of the same stuff where, I mean, I was consciously aware of the things that we addressed, but it didn't matter like what anybody would try to do, even like people trying to do energy work or whatever it might be. It never quite removed it, right? That was
Yeah.
the thing that I felt stuck in. It's like, okay, I know it's there, I know what it is, but it's still there. How do we get
Yeah.
this out? How do I get rid of this programming that's been stuck there for so long that it's almost like someone who had like finally fixed their back, but then their back wants to go back to where it was again because the muscles
Yeah.
are still tight, That's what it felt like.
Yeah. And there's so many people that are like, I know, I already know, I've done all the stuff. I just can't embody it.
Hmm.
I just can't stop doing the thing that I shouldn't do, or I can't start doing the thing that I should do.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to go deep to the root, and not just deep to the root. We have to like replace it,
Hmm.
right? So many people spend so much energy getting away from what they want, but they don't know what they're running towards,
That's right.
or they're running towards something that's not really going to do it for them. And
Yeah.
so that's why it's a very thoughtful process. But when you do it in a thoughtful way, it doesn't take long. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing here today,
Mhm.
right? I left a
Yep.
successful 25-year career because I'm like, this is awesome sauce. Like it's not a great business model to free people quickly, but it is
Mhm.
so profoundly impactful and meaningful. And I wanted to give that freedom as much as possible to as many people as possible as we can.
Yeah. Well, we should put that resource in there. I definitely recommend someone take the self-love quiz. And just so you guys know, I got a decent score on the self-love quiz. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I hate myself, right? So
Yeah.
if I still think this is valuable and I had a pretty high score on that one, I can imagine for you guys it could be too. No guarantees, of course, and it does require your own really openness and willingness to do it. But yes, the good news is it's not like you're being forced against your will to do anything. This is not stage hypnotherapy. That's hypnosis. And even then, that's just crazy stuff. This is something much, much different. I was conscious the entire time. That's what I had to tell my friends. I'm like, no, I was consciously aware of what was going on the whole time, but it was freeing my mind to be more clear to remember. I think that's
Yeah.
the hardest part is trying to get to what's the real source? Where's the root of that weed that needs to be ripped out versus just taking the top off, but it keeps growing back every season, right?
Yeah.
That's what you
And
have to address.
whether you work with us at Limitless You or you work with somebody else, make sure that they understand what memory reconsolidation is.
Mm,
So it's not about just getting to the root. It's about really making sure that you've reconsolidated the memory with the truth, right?
that's right.
You've ripped out the root and you've planted the seed, and then you're nurturing the seed of the truth, right? Your real truth.
That's
And so
right.
that's why it's not like, oh, don't, I've hypnotized you, see ya. right?
Yeah.
We want to take action and support you along the way so that you, whether it's big action or small action, right? That's how you, like, awareness is the most important first step.
Mhm.
Awareness, not with your conscious only, but with your subconscious as well. But then you need to take action to start the embodiment process, right? Because you have to like make sure your subconscious mind believes you.
That's right.
We human beings are built with this subconscious mind that doesn't care if you're happy or sad, doesn't care if you're rich or you're poor. It literally only cares if you're alive. That's why the human species is still on this planet. So if you're alive and miserable, your mind's like, works for me because you're alive. I did my job. Don't change anything. Like risk averse, right? The most risk
Right.
averse thing in your body, right? So we're talking finance. Like we need to teach it like, no, this model works. Look, I've taken action. I didn't die.
Hmm.
I've taken action. I didn't get rejected. Or guess what? If you did get rejected, that wasn't your person anyway.
Hmm.
So, like what we talked about with relationship, if you're not your authentic self, but you're in a relationship, do you win or you lose?
Oh, you lose every time.
You lose. It's a guaranteed loss. You lose, lose. You lose because you're not yourself. They lose because they don't get the real you. And
Hmm.
they're just dealing with somebody wearing a mask.
That's right. It's funny
So,
you mentioned that because just recently, now I was, if anybody, somebody might follow Sean Whalen, he's become very popular with the Lions Not Sheep movement. He actually started posting about this very thing you're talking about, where he realized he's like, wait a minute, all this problem, like him and his wife actually had filled out divorce papers. 6 months later, reunited, and all of a sudden they realized that, oh, I just need to be a place of quiet. I needed to understand who I was. Like they had put on masks for so long
yeah.
that they didn't feel heard, they didn't feel seen, and they weren't seeing or hearing the other person either. They were both like not seeing each other and hearing each other. And so when they finally got to that core of who they were, got that quiet time that they weren't allowing for, it allowed them to actually come together stronger as a result.
Oh, absolutely. Like we say, and people sometimes don't believe me. But so Brad and I are partners in business, but also in life. And conflict does bring you closer. Like I didn't believe it in the beginning when I first started. I'm like, this is going to be over. This is going to be done because I
Mhm.
was used to fight or flight
Yeah.
in my previous relationships, right?
Hmm.
And then when we walked our talk and it actually worked. and and we became closer and like, oh, I can use my voice. I can ask for what I want. I don't have to be always thinking about what somebody else wants and sacrifice what I want because that's when resentment builds and that's when the lose-lose starts happening,
That's right.
right?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, people are probably wondering, like, okay, why do we have someone like Yvonne on a financial show? Like, this is great, but why? But hopefully, if you guys haven't put two and two together, this is exactly why. Because you have your own stories. You're probably making decisions in your life right now that isn't serving you, right? And now it might have served you to a degree, it might have got you to where you are, but it may not want to get you to where you go. And I'm even speaking to our own one-on-one VIP clients too, because uh, if you don't have, here's the thing, you can get financially independent, meaning on a piece of paper or on a calculation, you're financially free, so to speak, but then you're wondering why you don't feel free. This is why, because it's not
Yeah.
about the money, it's about who you are and how you show up, and it's about even just living the life of your dreams. And the only way you can do that is if you live truly aligned with who you are. And the ironic thing is, the more you do that, the faster results come anyways.
Yeah,
And
and
that's
you get to
why.
enjoy it.
And you enjoy it. You're actually happier. You're happy and wealthy, not just rich, right? We talk about not just being rich or living a rich life, but being wealthy, truly wealthy.
Yeah, I don't know how many people I've talked to that they have the financial wealth,
Mhm.
but they are miserable. They're working their life away for the financial wealth, or
Yeah.
their relationships are on the rocks, or they're non-existent. And whether or not you have problems, you definitely have opportunity for greater joy and happiness. So if you're
Definitely.
listening and you're like, none of that really applies to me, well, what do you want? It is possible. So, what we're talking about isn't just solving problems. What we're talking about is giving you a competitive edge as well. Right? Like
Mm,
your subconscious mind is your superpower.
so true.
We just don't know how to use it. Nobody taught us human being 101.
Yeah. We
or
didn't
two
come
of
with a
one or
manual,
three of
did
one.
we?
Not even a quick start guide.
Yeah. So
So
true.
yeah, I would say for sure, like from a finance major and Chris, like we've gone through the ups and downs. We've achieved the things. If you're starting out and you're like, well, I'm just supposed to have this money. I'm supposed to have this money. I'm supposed to have these possessions. What I would say is get them, but with eyes wide open. Because if you're not careful, your possessions will start to possess you.
Hmm. So
We
true.
don't want that. We want you to be in charge of your life story, living it free, financially and mentally free, full of joy.
That's right. That's what it's all about. We're here to have joy.
That's right.
Well, Yvonne, last question for you.
Okay.
Obviously, it's the Money Ripples podcast, right? We talk about creating a ripple effect on this planet. Like, what are we here to do? What do you feel is your ripple effect on this planet?
So, my purpose is to shine my love and light bright so that others can find theirs.
Hmm.
So, my ripple effect is leading by example and giving people the support that they need to do what took me 25 years to figure out.
Yeah.
Letting go of fear, letting go of judgment, letting go of self pity, because that's just draining our energy and holding us back. So, my ripple effect, I hope today, and if you want to listen to How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs, we also have a podcast. What Brad and I are trying to do is just show you that you can be successful and happy.
Mhm.
You don't have to wear masks. So, I guess the ripple effect is everybody take off their masks and live their best self so that we can connect as a best society, right? Deeply connected, full of love and light.
So
Why
wonderful.
not?
We love it. Yes. You're the joy maker. Rip off those freaking masks and create a ripple effect, right? So
That's right. That's right.
I agree. Well, definitely everybody we'll definitely put in the show notes their link there so you guys can do the quiz and get all the resources and things like that. I definitely encourage you. If this resonated with you, be sure to reach out to these guys because for me, it made a massive difference and very well could be for you as well. So anyways, guys, we can listen to this stuff all day long, but at the end of the day, it's going to be what are you going to do with this information? Are you going to do something about it? Are you going to talk about it? Or will your life change as a result of you taking that kind of appropriate action that does align with your true self? Guys, that's my challenge for you today. Go make a wonderful and prosperous week. We'll see you later.
Bye bye.